In this episode 58 of the Daily Hustle, we talk about the time management secrets for you to manage your time like you are a billionaire, getting the most out of your time, the most maximum time productivity. Also, this is the Jack Lambert episode, who's known for not saying the right words.
Broadcasting from the box that rocks and Thrive15.com world headquarters, it's the Daily Hustle with Daniel McKenna.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is episode 58 of the Daily Hustle Show. Over to my left, as per usual, Marshall F. Morris. Over here, Daniel McKenna. This is episode 58, and we are talking about managing your time like a billionaire and maximizing your time productivity. Today, we are talking about source material from The Ultimate Sales Machine. This is a book by Chet Holmes here. Before we dive in here, Marshall, talk about the Ultimate Sales Machine. What are your thoughts about this red book?
I love that red book. It's one of my favorite books, and it's a different red book than a book that we've talked about before, Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Also a different red book.
But that's another one of my favorite books. I'm beginning to see that all of my favorite books have some kind of red element in them.
The content doesn't really matter necessarily. Just what's the main color on the cover?
Now, see, most people would say, "Oh, Marshall, the Service Profit Chain, that's a white book."
It looks like a white book with red lettering.
But really underneath it's a red book.
Jacket off.
It's a red book. So.
You take the desk jacket off, and so
yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. Doesn't even matter what you write as long as the cover is red and Marshall is in.
Yeah.
Probably becomes a bestseller.
That's right.
Episode 58 is the Jack Lambert episode. He's a former American football linebacker. I love how Wikipedia is always like, is an American football linebacker? I guess I assume that, yeah, I know I'm American, but I guess the world is not American, so that makes more sense. Played in the NFL, recognized by the Pro Football Hall of Fame as the premier linebacker of his era. Starting middle linebacker for 4 Super Bowl winning teams during an 11-year career with the Steelers. 11 years, won 4 Super Bowls. Not too bad there, Jack Lambert.
Pretty good percentage.
Not too shabby. Okay, Marshall, in previous episodes, we had talked about Lee Cockrell's time management mastery. That's one of his things he's known for. He's written books on the subject. He goes around speaking on the subject. This is another take on this topic, but this time from Chet Holmes. Chet Holmes is a author. He did a lot of stuff for consulting for advertising agencies, big-time sales guy, and he says that he learned his time management from the billionaire, one of his bosses, the billionaire Charlie Munger. So let's go ahead and jump into this here, Marshall. The whole concept, what we're talking about today, is working in the business versus working on the business. In the business versus on the business here, Marshall. Chet was a got a minute manager. Hey, man, got a minute? Hey, got a minute? You got a minute? Hey, you got 10 minutes? You got 15 minutes? Let's talk about this for 20 minutes. You got this 15 minutes? Let's talk about this. He said he would work 10 to 12 hours every single day in the office, every single day, 7 days a week, in the office, and then working on the creative type stuff, the stuff that needed his brain at home where he could focus. So you go to the office, you work for 12 hours, you get your busy work done, then you go home and you can start working on the real stuff. And this is his day every day of the week. Marshall, do you see this with your double baker's dozens of business clients? Do you see this where business owners, business builders, entrepreneurs spend a large amount of their time only working in the business, only doing the thing, only building the widget, only like the stuff that requires the business day-to-day type stuff, but never working actually on the business, never working on making it better, never working on updating the sales script, or maybe updating the way they do shipping and receiving, or maybe, do you see this very often?
Well, most business owners that are currently now running their business, it's a small business, they got into running the business because they were really good at something. Whether it's repairing a car, whether it's building tables, woodworking tables, whether it's doing remodeling, whatever it is, most business owners got into business for themselves because they didn't want to work for another boss, okay? And they were really good at what they wanted to do, so they figured, hey, I'll just do this for myself. But as they find that running a business is so much more than that, and they begin to hire people, they find that the business stays the same size because they're only working on the business on time that they reactively have, okay? And we all know that you won't find time for anything. You actually have to literally create time. So the working on the business is the second priority or the third priority or the fourth priority. It's never the first priority for them. So what we're talking about here is unless you actually schedule time for working on the business, and unless you get really good at managing your time and being effective working in the business, your business will never advance because that on the business has to be one of the top priorities for you.
In addition, if you're always working in the business, that means you're not selling the business. You can't be doing both at the same time, right?
Right.
So then you're working project to project, and as soon as you get done with one project, then you can start working on the next one. But there's no way to scale that. There's no way to build that, right? Okay, so this was his story, the Chet Holmes story. He worked for Charlie Munger. He managed 9 of his divisions. If you don't know who Charlie Munger is, he's the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, which is the conglomerate controlled by Warren Buffett. Served as a chairman for the Wesco Financial Corporation through 2011, chairman of the Daily Journal Corporation based in Los Angeles, and the director of Costco Wholesale Corporation. So he's kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
And while he learned this, he learned how to manage everything he was responsible for and also free himself up for time to actually make an impact on the growth of the business. So maybe you aren't working 70 hours a week in your business. Maybe you aren't putting in that many reactive hours a week. So why does this matter to you? Well, once you understand the time management secrets of running a multi-billion-dollar company, multi-billion with a B, Marshall, you'll have no trouble managing your sales activities or getting your company to function at its maximum productivity. And that's what this ultimate sales machine is all about. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the specifics here, Marshall. What he learned from Charlie Munger. Okay. No more, number one on the list. 1, no more anytime got a minute managing. He set 2 specific times where you are available during the day for specific questions. Number 1, Marshall, this is already getting a little bit inflammatory. It's already saying, okay, now you're going to change the way you interact with your people that work for you. When before, he was always available to help, always available for questioning, always available for clarification. What does this do when you say, no more? From now on, I'm available at 10:30 to 11 and 4:30 to 5. And besides then, you can't talk to me. What does that do for the business owner / manager here?
Well, when you're the business owner or you're the manager or somebody with a number of different direct reports, your direct reports are going to have questions that come up throughout the day. If they're taught to rely on the decision-making of their manager or whoever, the business owner or whoever's responsible for actually making the decision, they're always going to go to them in the time of need. And so if the expectations aren't created that I am not available throughout the day for your questions, but I can be available at certain points, if that type of relationship and that expectation is not created, then you will find yourself reactively addressing all of these issues throughout the day, okay? So I see business owners regularly trying to address these problems because they feel like they need to serve the needs of their employees immediately, ASAP, always, okay? And so if there's not somebody else to answer those questions or a first line of defense or organized time to actually to address those questions, then what you'll find is that there might be a scale in financial freedom, but no scale in time freedom, because as more business comes along, more questions are going to arise. And so most business owners, one of the first things that they can do to start reclaiming that time freedom is say, hey, I understand that you are going to have questions throughout the day. I will make myself available from this time to this time in the morning and this time to this time in the afternoon to address all of your questions. But in between then, the things that I'm going to be doing proactively for the business are going to be of higher value than your got-a-minute meetings, okay? Now, if the building is on fire or there is a customer that is threatening to sue us, come get me. But other than that, try and address it yourself. If it's something that you cannot make a decision on yourself, leave it for one of those 2 times that I have set available for us to talk about those types of got-a-minute meetings.
And what that does for you, number one, is if you're the leader, the manager, is it lets you then be able to actually like functionally think the rest of the day, actually concentrate on like the thing you're working on, whatever that is, whatever it is that's going to be big for your business, right? It lets you think during those time periods as opposed to every few minutes getting interrupted by somebody and having to like address their issues. But 2, I believe it forces you to be more clear in your communication. It forces you to get better at when you're assigning things to say, okay, instead of just saying, all right, we're going to work on the horse project. Instead, you're going to say, all right, Marshall, we're working on the horse project. I want this proposal done by Tuesday at 11 a.m. And don't forget, it's got to include the contract updates that we talked about in the meeting. So instead of you coming to me later on during the day and saying, hey, when do you want me to work on this? And what do you think that should be in here? And like it's forcing me to be more clear about the expectations up front, right? Because I know that I'm not going to be sitting right next to you the whole day answering every question you have. So the first one was no more anytime got a minute managing. The second, break down your company into its impact areas that affect your bottom line. Set up weekly 1-hour meetings for that area in which you focus only on improving and perfecting that area. Marshall, what is he talking about here? Have you seen this before? Do you know anything about this concept?
So what the general principle is for all of your meetings, set the parameters for that meeting. What are you going to talk about? What are you not going to talk about? And that's really the first thing here is most meetings are unnecessary within a business work week, okay? But for the things that you want to improve in, you've got to schedule time to improve it. So if you want to work on the business in your sales area, you have to set up a time to have a meeting about improving the sales process. If you want to get better at customer service, you've got to set up a time for training your customer service people. So the first step is identifying the list of items in which growth is necessary, growth is important, growth is an ongoing thing, different for every department in which you operate. And then you schedule the time and set the parameters. Okay, we are scheduling the time for sales. Therefore, we will not talk about customer service during the sales meeting. And so you make the list of all the different meetings that you need to have throughout the week, and then you diligently execute them. What decisions need to be made in this meeting? What progress do we need to make? Who needs to be there? And then you go out and you hold the meeting, and that's how you consistently and sustainably grow every single week.
So you're breaking it down into specific either departments or specific functions that are impact areas for your business. So maybe that's outside sales. Maybe that's marketing activities. Maybe that's customer service. Maybe that's shipping and receiving. Maybe that's technology. Maybe that's a new project you're working on. Maybe you're trying to like move into a new state or something. And so you have this whole project in here. He talked about like the California initiative, not a real thing, but the California initiative. So you're like, okay, the California project, we need a meeting every week, 1 hour about the California project. He said by doing this, he broke down his day, his week. Instead of working 70 to 80 hours a week reactively, he got more done by breaking it down into those 9 impact areas. And now in 9 hours a week, he was being more effective as a manager as opposed to the 70 to 80 hours a week. Because they said, okay, Tuesday, 10 a.m., we're talking about outside sales from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's all we're discussing. We're getting better at that. And then week over week, they're getting better at that thing, right? Key staff for each impact area must attend, obviously, with any questions they would have ready and any reports on the previous week's progress ready. So week 1 won't matter, but week 2, that's where this starts mattering, right? Week 2 is when you're like, all right, Sam, we talked about this. Tell me about the California initiative. Tell me about that flyer we were building. Tell me about and then Sam's responsibility is to have any questions he has ready and to have any reports ready. Sam can't then go, it's back on my desk, I think. I'm going to go run back to my desk. I printed it out. I'm going to go find. Can't do that, right? they know ahead of time we've got this hour-long meeting. That's when we're going to be addressing everything on the sheet, everything we've talked about, our hit list. Bam, let's talk about it. Do we knock that out? Knock that out. What's next? What do we need to keep improving on? They have dedicated time to work on those specific activities. I would argue that most small businesses never do this at all. Never set aside a weekly time to consistently get better at something. Most small businesses are so like, all right, it's 8 a.m., get in the shop, read the emails, answer the phone calls, do the thing, answer the questions, do the thing, answer the question. Oh, the day's over. And that's like reality for the small business owner, right? That's like every day. Instead of having an hourly or weekly time set up to hourly say, okay, we're going to work on this for 1 hour this week. Get better at this one thing this week. And he said it's helping him become a more effective manager in 9 hours a week as opposed to 70 to 80 hours a week. The other part here is about how you actually run that meeting, about keeping notes, what was worked on, what is due next week, who is responsible for next week's projects. Marshall, you are an expert in these sort of things. Your mind works organizationally. Anytime we have these sort of meetings, a lot of times you're the one that is keeping the notes because you translate the information into notes that everybody can understand. And talk about this. What is the importance here of this letter here? We have it on as D in the show notes here. Talk about this. Why is this important? Why is this such a big deal for those meetings?
So when you're walking away from the meeting, you're going to have action items, the decisions that are made in the meeting, and what needs to come from the meeting to actually enact change. And so when you're assigning action items, there's a few things that you have to make sure that you include. Number one, who is responsible for the action item? It can't be multiple people. It has to be one individual.
Why does it? Hang on. Let's talk about this. Why is it one person? Why? Because there's projects you need like 8 different people to work on.
I'm glad you asked.
If you're going to produce a video, right? Like, okay, so in my world, you produce a video. What does that mean? Well, you got to get somebody to shoot the video, someone to run some audio, someone to before that write the script, someone to before that get the talent, someone to set up the lighting, someone to shoot all the video, right, to produce it. Then you got to edit it. And then with the editing, you probably got to get from the customer or from your business client, okay, what's their logo? What kind of vibe are we going for? Is it a 3-minute thing? Is it a 20-minute thing? What kind of background music should we... There's like so many moving parts, and you just said, go ahead and create the new marketing video for the client. Why are you saying this is up to one person? This is obviously going to take more than one person to work on this.
So it has to be very, very clear who's the person that is responsible for it. When you're following up on the action item, there has to be a clear delineation on who is responsible and who is going to be to credit or to fault for it being done or not being done.
How often do you see things assigned? They say, let's get the marketing video done. But it's never attached to one specific person as their responsibility as a, hey, you either win or lose because this is on your plate. We'll see you next week, Tuesday, 9 a.m., to find out the answer of whether you win or lose.
You have to assign it to one person, or else that person on the other side of the coin, that person doesn't know specifically that they are the ones that are responsible for it. It may have been clear to the manager, but the person that it is assigned to might not feel ownership of that project unless they are the one that is assigned to that particular action item.
Not only that, but keeping notes of all this stuff about what's worked on, what's due next week, who's responsible. This is what we talked about. This is what... I can't tell you how many meetings I've sat in that everybody's in the room like, yeah, everybody in the room. Everybody knows what's going on. Cool. We all know what's going on. I agree. Good point. Glad you said that. Great point. All right, we're going to work on that. We're going to do it. And then 6 hours later, if you asked the person that you thought you assigned something to, say, hey, so about that project. And then they're like, oh, well, I have some questions. What do you want it to look like? And like they never processed in their mind like, okay, that means you're responsible for this. That means you need to know what's going on. Let's talk about those things now. We have this hour-long meeting. Let's talk about those specifics now. Let's not talk about the stuff for an hour and then later on go talk about it again because we didn't clarify. And I think that's a really big part of like what's going on here. Just being very clear in your communication in a very transparent way that everybody knows who's responsible for it. And then once you know you're responsible for it, it changes in your mind. You're like, oh crap, I need to know more information, as opposed to, yeah, it's a good idea. We should work on that. Let's do it. Let's work on that thing. And then as soon as the meeting's over, you go back to doing your normal thing because you never had any like sense of urgency to work on this project.
That's right.
Okay. So in recap here, to change the way that you are managing your time, if you are the leader in the business, if you are a manager of humans, number one here, no more anytime, got a minute meetings. It might seem a little bit harsh, but you got to be a little bit pig-headed here. If Sam comes up to me later on, we've got a meeting on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. It is Monday at 4 p.m. Sam comes up to me and he says, hey, got a minute? Got a question. And I'm like, can it not wait until the meeting? Is this an emergency? No, it's not an emergency. I just had a question. Cool. I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. That changes like the dynamic of what's going on. Not because I don't like want to be a nice guy to Sam. I like Sam. He's worked here for a long time. We know we're on the same page, but that's what frees my time up to then focus on other things. And it makes Sam force that clear communication when we're assigning things. Number 2, break down your company into its impact areas. What are the areas that affect your bottom line? Set up weekly 1-hour meetings for that area. And then after that, we're going to make sure that key staff for impact areas are attending those meetings with questions ready, reports ready, everything you need to talk about that specific area. They're ready to go. You're going to keep notes about what was worked on, what is due next week, who is responsible for next week's projects, and you're going to move forward and consistently growing those impact areas on a consistent week-to-week basis.
That's the hot sauce.
Before we go here, Marshall, does this actually work? Have you seen this before? It's not possible for you to work with a double baker's dozens of clients without something like this, right? If all 26 of them could blow you up at any time to ask you a question about the project, is that even possible?
No, and most people can't manage a team of 3 or 4 people without having these tools implemented.
Okay. That was episode 58. Part 1 of managing your time like a billionaire. Coming up in the next episode, part 2 of managing your time like a billionaire. We're going to get into some of the specifics of how you can master your own individual time. We just talked about how you're managing your team's time, right? Now that you're managing your team's time, now how am I going to manage my specific individual time to be maximum effectiveness?
That was the Jack Lambert episode.
And I just said to be maximum effectiveness, which I don't think is like a proper sentence.
That's why I was bringing up the fact that it was a Jack Lambert episode.
Jack Lambert was famous for saying things like that. Some people know him for his football career with the Steelers. Other people know him as a wordsmith that commonly invented phrases.
Yeah. William Wadsworth Longfellow.
To be maximum effectiveness.
Billy.
All right, that's it for this episode. We will see you next time on the Daily Hustle. Real quick, though, I just realized we never plugged our thing. We never talked about the whole reason we're doing this, which might be important to some people.
Let's do it.
There's 3 ways that we can help grow your small business. And number 1 of them is Thrive15.com. Thousands of training videos from people like Lee Cockrell, David Robinson, Michael Levine, people that have been around the block and grown huge businesses, giving you the specific action steps you need to grow your business. Available 24/7 on your mobile device, on the web, anywhere that you have a Wi-Fi connection, an internet connection. You can get some mastery type training from people that have actually done it. And it's starting at $1 for your first month.
Yes.
Kind of a big deal. That was episode 58, the Jack Taylor episode. Coming up next time is episode 59.
Jack Lambert.
Dang it.
Coming at you next time here on the Daily Hustle.
See, Jack Lambert was famous for forgetting his own name, too.